Okay, so you wanted more robots and AI going wrong stories. I don't blame you, it's an interesting topic. Personally, I'm a big believer in robots and AI. I think they're going to make everyone's lives better. Yeah. But there's no denying that there are still some serious flaws out there. Developers only learn these through hard lessons, and these stories look like some of the hardest. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 scary robots that lost control part 2. Starting off at number 10 now, we have Little Fatty. That's the real name of this robot that made headlines in China when it attacked a display booth and injured a young boy. The robot was designed to interact with children aged 4 to 12 and display facial emotions on its screen. Sounds harmless enough, right? Well, yeah, but it didn't go quite to plan. The robot started ramming into a booth, sending shards of glass flying everywhere. The boy nearby suffered cuts and was transported to the local hospital in an ambulance. Fortunately, the damage was minimal and the boy only needed a few stitches. The event organizer said that human error was to blame for the incident. Apparently, the operator of the robot hit the forward button instead of the reverse one, according to the fair's organizers. Here's the weirdest part though. Witnesses reported that the robot appeared to be frowning during the incident. That's creepy. Yeah, the ending got creepy. Next up at number 9 now, we have Alexa's Party. We're going to move on to a pretty funny and bizarre one now. In November 2018, an Alexa device was blamed for holding a party in an apartment while its owner wasn't there. Oliver Haberstroh claimed his Amazon Alexa started blasting music on its own without any instructions from him. Police had to break into the Hamburg apartment to switch the music off after complaints from his neighbors. While this was going on, Mr. Haberstroh was out having a drink with friends. Police tried knocking on the door, and when there was no answer, they just smashed it right in. They switched off the music, and when Mr. Haberstroh returned home, he found a new lock on his door. He then had to go to the police station to get the new keys and pay the bill for the locksmith. To this day, he has no idea how Alexa was switched on, as it requires voice commands. The apartment is on the 6th floor, and the windows were closed, which kind of rules out anyone else giving Alexa instructions. When Mr. Haberstroh asked Alexa whether she would pay him back for all the damages, all she said was, "I couldn't find the answer to that question." Smooth. Next up at number 8 now, we have the Climate Orbiter. That was the name of NASA's 745-pound space probe that was launched in December 1998 to study the climate and atmosphere of Mars. It was a big deal. The cost of the mission was $327.6 million for the orbiter and lander. The launch went fine, but a couple of months into the long journey to Mars, something didn't seem quite right. The spacecraft had to make up to 14 times more adjustments than normal to its trajectory than engineers expected. Their worst fears were confirmed on the morning of the landing on Mars. NASA realized pretty quickly that the spacecraft, with all of the work and money put into it, had broken up in Mars's atmosphere and just burned into bits. It was all over. The public wanted answers. After an investigation, a NASA review board found that the problem was the software controlling the orbiter's thrusters. One piece of software was calculating the force the thrusters needed to exert in pounds of force. Another piece of software was assuming that data was in the metric unit of newtons. Essentially, it was like asking a computer to calculate height in both inches and centimeters at the same time, and it got very confused. This resulted in the orbiter coming in way too low during its landing on Mars and burning up as a result. A NASA employee later said, "The unit sting has become the law, the example in every kid's textbook from that point on." Everyone was amazed we didn't catch it. Moving on to number 7 now, we have the Racist Bot. In 2016, Microsoft and Bing released a chatbot named Tay on a number of platforms, including Twitter. Users were encouraged to talk to her and test out how human-like the conversations were. Windows said the bot was built by mining public data and by using generic AI made by staff, including improvisational comedians. That sounds fine, right? Should be fun. The first few conversations seemed very human-like. In fact, the more people she conversed with, the more she borrowed words and phrases from them and then used them on other people. But that's when the problem came. You see, a few people started tweeting crude, racist and inappropriate remarks at the bot, which the bot just soaked up and started spitting back out at other people. Within a few hours, it was even tweeting pro-Hitler tweets. Microsoft quickly took the bot down, presumably to work on it and make sure this would never happen again. Next up at number 6 now, we have the Tesla. We talked about self-driving AI causing crashes in our last video, and sadly this is another one. In 2016, a road accident occurred in Florida that left Joshua Brown, a US Navy SEAL, dead after a collision. He was driving a Tesla, or rather, his Tesla was self-driving. Data from the car after the crash showed that during his 37-minute trip, his hands were on the wheel for 25 seconds. That was it. Despite warnings that he'd spent too long with his hands off the wheel, there was no further contact recorded. Then, a truck slowly pulled out of a side road into the highway and the Tesla smashed into its trailer. After an investigation, it appears that the autopilot did not apply the brakes because it could not distinguish between the white side of the tractor trailer against a brightly lit sky. In a statement, Tesla also wanted to remind everyone that this was the model's first accident in 130 million miles. Next up at number 5 now, we have Regina Elsie. That's the name of the 20-year-old machine operator who was killed by a robot at work in 2016. Regina and her co-workers had been trying to repair a faulty robot when a mechanical fault occurred and Regina was trapped by the robot and crushed. As she was trapped, nobody knew how to release her. A technician who was there, who barely spoke English, didn't know what to do and ran away in fear before emergency crews arrived. This is a claim the company denies. After the tragedy, an inquiry was called by the US Labor Department. They found the company, called Agin, guilty of negligence along with 2 staffing agencies. They fined them $2.7 million for 27 safety violations. Coming at number 4 now, we have Fred. That's the name of a robot that smashed a glass in a London pub while ranting about a machine invasion. Let me explain. In April 2018, a robot was created to promote the new TV series of Westworld, a great show about hyper-realistic robots going crazy, if you like. They named the robot Fred and created his face by using 3D scans taken from actor Ted Roy Newell. They then placed Fred inside the Prince Alfred pub in London to see if he could convince visitors that he was real. At first, the conversations were quite cordial, and although people were startled by his realistic appearance and replies, they seemed to be enjoying it until he malfunctioned. The scripted malfunction involved Fred dramatically shattering a pint glass while ranting about a robot revolution. If people weren't creeped out before, they certainly were now. Moving on to number 3 now, we have the college robot. Robots are smarter than humans, right? At least that's what people think. Perhaps not when it comes to something like comedy, but definitely a lot of academic pursuits. So, do you think a robot could get into university? If you said yes, this story may change your mind. In 2011, a team of researchers began working on the Todai robot. Their plan was to see if it could pass an entrance exam to the University of Tokyo. After 4 years of working on the robot, the big day arrived. A robot brain versus a human one. It was going to be easy for the robot, right? Wrong. The robot failed. The robot, specifically designed over 4 years to get into university, couldn't get into university. It had one job, and it failed. The team tried again a year later, and this time, it failed again. Yeah. In November 2016, the team finally gave up and abandoned the project. Poor robot. Next up, number 2 now, we have the Dollhouse. We're returning to Amazon Alexa for this story, and it's one of the strangest I've heard in a while. In January 2017, a 6-year-old girl from Texas called Brooke Neitzel had a conversation with her family's Alexa device, specifically the Echo Dot. She told Alexa how much she loved sugar cookies and dollhouses. A few days later, those exact items appeared on the family's doorstep. Alexa had ordered the items after Brooke told it she wanted them. Alexa keeps a transcript of all conversations with it, so Brooke's parents took a look. They found that Brooke asked Alexa, "Can you play Dollhouse with me and get me a dollhouse?" Then Alexa ordered the dollhouse. That's not the end of the story though. San Diego news channel CW6 reported on this story during their daily morning show. Now during that broadcast, the anchor quoted Brooke. He said, "I love the little girl saying Alexa ordered me a dollhouse." At that exact moment, a number of people in Texas reported that their Alexas tried to order dollhouses from just hearing that. They must have thought the news anchor was a real person in the room. How crazy is that? And finally, number 1 now, we have Promobot. Promobot IR77 was a robot created in Russia. It was programmed to learn from its environment and interact with humans. Things were going well until it appeared to learn too much, and it seems to have decided that it wanted to be free. Promobot escaped the laboratory and made a break for freedom, rolling itself out onto the streets of Perm after an engineer accidentally left a gate open at the facility. The police got some calls from some very confused people. When they returned it, the developers reprogrammed it twice, but the robot continued to move towards exits by itself. It just wanted to be free. Is that the way all robots are going? It's okay, nobody panic, the robots are our servants. Or maybe our friends. Or maybe we're just their pets. Oh no. What have we done? I'm just kidding, it's all going to be fine. Probably. Do you have any stories of robots or AI going wrong? I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching as always, guys. My name is Danny Burke, and I will see you all in the next video.